So now we are done with studying growth independent movement. Now it's time to learn about growth dependent movement and the different ways how plant exhibit growth dependent movements. Okay, so let's see and let's talk about that. Okay, so what is growth dependent movement? I've already explained it to you. It's the movement exhibited by the plant in response to growth. Okay, so this motion or this movement will be relatively very slow as compared to the movement exhibited in the growth independent movement, but over here the movement will be permanent. It means like if once the movement have been occurred, the plant will remain at that position for a longer period of time. Okay, so this movement lasts longer as compared to growth independent movement, which lasts only for a few minutes or for a few moments. Okay, let's talk about it more. Movement or growth of any part of plant in response to external stimulus is called growth dependent movement, or it is also called as tropism. Okay, I have already explained to you that any movement which is exhibited by plant or any part of the plant with response to any external stimulus, that movement of plant will be called as growth dependent movement, which is also called as tropism. And so you have understood this one. Let's see. So who shows growth dependent movement? Almost all of the plant. All of the plant which grows shows growth dependent movement. Okay. Movement in a seedling is always growth dependent, right? So when you see a seedling which grows into two systems, which is the root system and the shoot system, that if we see that in fast forward motion, we tend to know that, or we tend to observe that the motion is growth dependent. It is exhibited due to presence of growth. Let's see. So if you see over here, this GIF gives you a very good example of how a movement in seedling is growth dependent movement, right? So you can see some movement as well as growth over here as well. Okay, let's talk about it more. Okay, so movement or growth, we are already in a definition. So plants show 4 types of tropism. There are how many types of tropism? 4 types of tropism. Okay, what is tropism? I want you to remember it well. Okay, so tropism is nothing but another word for growth dependent movement. So please don't get confused for that. Okay, so there are 4 types of tropism. What are they? The first one is phototropism. Okay, so the word photo means what? Light. Okay, so it is light. It is growth dependent movement in response to light. Okay, it is growth dependent movement in response to light. I'm repeating again. Photo refers to light. Tropism refers to growth dependent movement. So phototropism will be what? It will be growth dependent movement in response to light. Let me proceed further. Chemotropism means chemo comes from the word chemical. Tropism is growth dependent movement. So this will be growth dependent movement in response to certain chemicals. Okay, chemo means chemical, so movement towards chemical. It's not always towards, it can be sometimes away also. We'll talk about that in a while. Okay, the next one is gravitropism. Gravi refers to gravity and tropism refers to growth dependent movement. So this will be growth dependent movement in response to gravity. And the next one is hydrotropism. Hydro refers to water and tropism refers to movement. So in this case, what will happen is there will be growth dependent movement in response to water. Okay, so all of you have understood it well, and I want you to have a note of these all of these types of growth dependent movement. Manish is asking for example of these movements. I'll tell you shortly. We'll have example for each and everything. Okay, please be patient. We'll see about it. Let's talk about it. Okay, आगे देखते हैं. Let's talk about phototropism. Okay, so what is phototropism? We've already understood about it, right? What is it? Photo means what? Light. Tropism means growth dependent movement. So this is growth dependent movement in response to light. Okay, so it can be either away or it can be either towards the stimulus. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, so now if you see over in this case, if you keep a plant which is half in the darker side and half in the brighter side. Okay, you tell me whether it will bend towards the light or not. Will the plant bend towards the light or the stimulus or not? What is the stimulus over here in this case? The stimulus is what? Presence of sunlight. That is a change in your environment, because the sun doesn't always remains at that place, right? Yes or no?
Means,
That is why that will
sir,
be
it will
stimulus. Yes. Okay. Now this will be a stimulus, right? And on the stimulus, will the stem bend towards the light or not? Yes, it will bend. I have most of the students who are answering my question, and they have answered correctly that it will bend, right? Okay. So now, because what we can say is the stem over here is bending, or it is moving towards the stimulus. And what is the stimulus? It is light. So what kind of motion is it? It is growth dependent motion, right? Yes or no? It is growth dependent movement, and that too towards the light, and therefore it will be called as positive phototropism. It will be called as positive phototropism. I hope so you have understood it. On the other side, if you talk about roots, is the root moving towards the sunlight or away the sunlight? Can someone answer this? Simply answer, towards or away. Yes, Maithili is saying away. Correct? She is correct. Anyone else? Manish is also saying away. Correct? Anyone else who wants to answer? The answer is correct. The root is moving away the stimulus. It is moving away the light, right? And therefore, this will be called as negative phototropism. So phototropism also has two versions. Okay, the first one is positive phototropism, which shows movement towards the light, and the other one is negative phototropism, which shows movement away from the light. And I've already talked about it. The shoot system over here is positively phototropic, and the root system over here is negatively phototropic. Yes, Manish is saying correct. If the root will move towards the sunlight will tend to make the roots dry, right? And dry roots will not be able to absorb water, and therefore they always move away from the sunlight. You might be knowing that these plants will tend to bend towards the source of light. Okay, why is it so? Because plants require sunlight for their photosynthesis, right? And until unless they don't get sunlight, photosynthesis cannot be carried out. So for that, what happens is the plant bends towards that place where the light is available in abundance, right? And therefore, rather than moving towards the left side, the plant will be bending towards the right side so that it can absorb as much sunlight energy as possible. Fine. So this is like kind of a movement, right? So bending towards the right side is also kind of a movement, but this movement was in response to the presence of light. So therefore, this will be called as phototropism. Now, if you observe over here, not the entire stem will be bending towards the sunlight, but the growing part of the stem, the stem which contains most of all apical meristem, gets bended towards the light. Why is it so? Because this movement is growth dependent, and all we have already learned in 9th standard that the place where growth is more in a plant is a place where meristems are present, right? So when we talk about the shoot system, the tip of the shoot is a place where apical meristems are present, and that is a place where growth is very fast, right? So that place will be moving or bending towards the light. I hope so all of you have understood it well. Let's move ahead. See what we can say is the shoot system of any plant responds towards stimulus of light, that is, it grows in the direction of source of light. This movement exhibited by the plant is called as phototropic movement, is as the same that I've just taught to you, right? Okay, let's move ahead. Let us see why does this happen, right? So I have already said that all of the movement that is brought to or that is observed in a plant is brought about by the chemical coordinators inside the plant, and those chemical coordinators are called as hormones, or we can also call it as phytohormones, referring to the hormones which are present inside the plant. So let us see these hormones into action. So let us magnify the upper end of the stem. Why upper end of the stem? Because that is a place where the growth is more accelerated, the growth is more. Fine. Okay, so let us magnify this. This will be the tip of the shoot. Okay, the tip of the shoot of the system. Fine. Fine. So what we can say, as a tip of the stem, there is a hormone called as auxin. I want you people to have a note of this, that one of the hormones present inside the plant is auxin, of which we are going to learn about now. Okay. So let's please have a note of this hormone. The name of the hormone is auxin. The spelling is AUXIN. Fine. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say that the tip of the shoot system contains a hormone called as auxin. Okay. Let us see what happens more further. Fine. So we have auxins over here, okay? And auxins are what? They are light sensitive. It means what? They respond to light, okay? Now, as the unidirectional sunlight falls on the sunny side, light coming from one direction, right? So what do you mean by unidirectional? Uni means one, direction you already know, right? So light comes from only one direction. So when you talk about the shoot system, if you say the shoot system, either part of the shoot system will be having more intensity of light. So if you observe over here, the right side will be getting more brighter sunlight as compared to the left side, right? Yes or no? And therefore auxin will tend to be in that place where the sunlight is more. It will get concentrated in that place. Okay. So what we can say is the left side is the shady side, the right side is the sunny side. Moving ahead. So what we can say is the auxin diffuses towards the opposite side. The auxin diffuses to the opposite side. Okay. So what we can say is, let's see, auxin causes the stem of the stem to elongate. Okay. So what will happen is, where the auxin will be present, that cells will be going, or they will be growing into longer and longer, right? It means what? They will be elongating. So its size will be getting longer and longer with growth. Okay. Maithili is asking, she has a question, and it's like a good question she's asking. She's saying that in rainy seasons like now, there is no sunlight, so how plant absorbs sunlight? See, Maithili, if we say that the sky is covered with clouds, still there is some amount of light which is penetrating through the cloud, right? It's not complete dark right now, right? If you go out, you will see that everything is lighted up. So where does that light comes from? It is but nothing but the sunlight, right? Okay. So that is why in most of the plant, what happens is, during the rainy season, most of the plant don't bear flowers or fruits, and that is because the amount of photosynthesis carry on is much lesser. But soon after getting passed through this monsoon season, once they get sufficient amount of sunlight, you will get a lot of fruits and flowers from those plants. And that is why the kharif crops are harvested after monsoon or during the start of winter. I hope so your answer is clear. Okay, so this causes difference in the length of both the sides, leading the stem to bend towards the sunlight. Let's go through these slides, then I'll explain to you in detail. Okay, so what will happen is there will be bending of the stem. Okay, so let us recall everything again. Fine. So we have we saw that this was the tip of the stem. Okay, the right side was the brighter side, and the left side was the darker side as compared. Okay, but both the side will be having sunlight, but the intensity of sunlight will be more in the right side. Okay, fine, in our example. So what will happen is these auxins will come, and since they are photosensitive, it means they are light sensitive. What they will do is they'll move away or to opposite side where the sunlight is, right? So if the right side contains sunlight, so it will be moving opposite to that place where the sunlight is less. So where auxins will be there? Auxins will be in the darker region. कौन से side में होगा वो darker region में होगा. And because of auxin, what will happen is the length of the cell will elongate. Elongate means what? वो लंबे हो जाएंगे. So if you can see over here, on the left side, what will happen is the cell's size or its length will be increased. उसका size जो है वो क्या हो जाएगा? लंबा हो जाता है. And if you compare the length of the cells to the right side, they are much shorter, right? So this creates a difference in the rate of growth, and this will be leading to the bending of the stem. क्योंकि यहाँ पे growth ज़्यादा है and यहाँ पे growth कम है, so यहाँ से वो क्या हो जाएगा, bend होकर कहाँ पे चला जाएगा, sun की तरफ bend हो जाता है. I hope so all of you have understood it. And because of this, bending of part of the plant or the entire plant takes place. It simply seeks the place where the intensity of sunlight is more. Fine. So this is how auxin works. Where auxin goes, gibberellins, there is another hormone called as gibberellins which comes into the action. We'll be talking about that also. Okay. So let's see. So ultimately what will happen is, as soon as the plant grows, you will see that there will be slight bending. There will be slight bending of the stem, right? So this slight bending is due to the action of both the hormone auxin as well as the growth which is exhibited by the hormone auxin, right? So this is the combined work of the hormone auxin as well as the growth, so that we can see some kind of bending towards the light. Ultimately what will happen is, the stem of the plant will be propagating in that direction where the sunlight's intensity is more, so therefore so that more and more photosynthesis can take place and the plant can will be able to produce more and more energy out of it. I hope so all of you have understood it well. Let's talk about gravitropism. Okay, so gravi refers to gravity and tropism refers to growth dependent movement, right? So if we sum up it, we come to know that gravitropism is a growth dependent movement which is in response to gravity. Fine, so let's talk about it. So roots system of plant respond to stimulus of gravity. Okay, so even over here also, if we talk about gravitropism, so gravitropism can also be said as they can come in two different categories, right? So we have positive gravitropism as well as negative gravitropism. Right? So what is positive gravitropism? If the plant of the part or the plant of the plant moves towards the direction of the gravity, so that part of the plant is said to be positively gravitropic. It means what? That it moves towards the stimulus. What is the stimulus? Presence of gravity. So that stimulus, because it is moving towards the stimulus, it will be called as positively gravitropic. On the other side, if we talk about the stem moves against the gravity. Since gravity is pulling downwards and the stem is moving upwards, it is moving in the direction opposite to the direction of the stimulus. It means that it is moving away from the stimulus, and therefore the stem system can be called as negatively gravitropic. Fine. It means that it moves away in response to gravity. So if we divide the plant into two systems, okay, if we divide plant into two systems, that is the stem system and the root system, we come to know that the root system is positively gravitropic and the stem system is negatively gravitropic. I hope so you have understood it well. So let's talk about that. So if we see, gravity is pulling downwards and we can see that the roots over here is also moving towards the direction of gravity. Let's talk about hydrotropism also. Fine. So let's see what is hydrotropism. The word, let's try to understand the word, the meaning of the word. So hydro refers to water and tropism refers to growth dependent movement. So if we talk about it, we come to know that this is a movement exhibited by plant which is in response to water. Okay, so there will be growth, there will be movement, and the movement will be in response to water. Fine. So आगे देखते हैं. So what is hydrotropism? So root system of plant respond to stimulus of water. It means what? Movement of plant's part in response to presence or absence of water. So if we talk about again the root system and the shoot system, the root system always moves towards a direction to the source of water. So roots will be always growing in that direction where the water is more. As compared, if we talk about the stem system is always moving away from the water. You might be knowing that water is always on the ground surface. We're not talking about the vapor which is present in the air, but I'm talking about the liquid water which is always present on the ground, right? In or on the ground, right? So what we can say is that the stem system is negatively hydrotropic and the root system is positively hydrotropic. Okay, so how can you determine whether it is positive or negative? If the movement is towards the stimulus, it will be called as positive, and if the movement is away from the stimulus, it will be called as negative. Let's see more ahead further. So if you see, the more the water is there, the more the growth of roots will be in that direction. Manish has a question. He says, sir, according to Gravitropism, why does plant don't grow inside the earth? See, we know that the basic way or the basic process by which plant grows and it makes its energy is by photosynthesis. If we try to plant few plants under the ground, अगर ground के अंदर हम लोग उसको उगाने की कोशिश किए, there will be no source of light through which the photosynthesis can take place, and ultimately the seed itself will not germinate, and therefore we cannot plant any plants अंडर द ग्राउंड. हम लोग ग्राउंड के अंदर नहीं कर सकते हैं, प्रोवाइडेड दैट अगर हम लोग के पास कुछ ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी है जहाँ पे हम लोग कुछ आर्टिफिशियल लाइट्स यूज कर सकते हैं, देन वी कैन श्योरली डू. देयर आर मेनी मशरूम फार्म्स which are inside which are under the ground as well as inside caves. तो उनको अंधेरे में रखा जाता है. But we all know that that mushrooms are not plants, they are funguses and they're saprophytic, right? So they eat decaying plants and animals. तो इस वजह से वो लोग फोटोट्रॉपिक आई एम सॉरी वो लोग फोटोसिंथेटिक नहीं होते हैं. इस वजह से वो लोग जमीन के अंदर भी पैदा हो सकते हैं. आई होप सो मनीष योर डाउट इज क्लियर. ओके, let's talk about chemotropism. Okay, so what do chemotropism refers to? So chemo refers to chemical, tropism refers to growth dependent movement. Okay, so this will be kind of a growth dependent movement which is in response to some chemicals. Fine, so let us talk about pollination of flower. You will be learning about this in great detail in your next biology chapter, that is how do organisms reproduce, but still we'll be having a glimpse of it. Fine, so we have a hibiscus plant over here. These all are called as androeciums. These are called as androecium, and this will be called as the gynoecium. The androecium is the male reproductive part of the flower, whereas the gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower. Right? So until unless these two gametes, the male gamete as well as the female gamete, doesn't fuses together, there is no formation of zygote. Ultimately, there will be no sexual reproduction. Okay, so the only way through which the male gamete enters the female gamete is through this place, which is called as the stigma. Fine, we'll be learning about this in great detail, but we'll be simply saying that what does chemotropism refers to. Okay, so let us say it is a movement of plant part in response to certain chemicals. Okay, so let's see. So let us say that these are pollen grains. Okay, so pollen grains are nothing but the small or minute microscopic bodies which carries male gametes. Fine, so these pollen grains have settled on the stigma. Okay, now what will happen is there is a chemical secreted by the ovule. The ovule, you might already know that ovule is a female gamete. Okay, so what happens is the pollen over here should be fused to the ovule over here. So pollen is the male gamete, ovule is a female gamete. So how does these pollen come towards these ovule? So there is germination of these pollen, and due to the germination there is a long tube which grows towards the direction of the ovule. So this tube is called as the pollen tube. क्या कहेंगे हम लोग? We call it as pollen tube. Let's see further. आगे देखते हैं. A pollen tube generates from the stigma towards the ovule in response to the chemical. You can see over here there is a generation of a tube which is called as the pollen tube, which connects the pollen to the ovule so that the pollen grain can fuse inside the ovule for proper fertilization. Right? Now, how does this pollen tube knows where is the ovule? Right? It doesn't have any eye. Right? उनके पास आँखें नहीं होती है. Nor do they have any GPS system to locate it. Right? Still, it knows the perfect direction where to grow and which direction to grow. And that is all because due to the action of these chemicals, or to the response of these chemical, it is brought over there. I hope so all of you have understood it, and because of this only fertilization in plants can take place. Let's move ahead, let's move further. So the example of chemotropism is the growth of pollen tubes towards the ovule, which we have already learned.